gonna be a one cycle. Oh no, Jing! Oh no, Jing! What? No!
Oh no, the lightning law is gonna get pushed all the way back, and there's just such a massive defense. Oh my god, it's getting dangerously low. Hey guys, Mr. Pokke here, back with another video. Today, I will be sharing my experiences being a caster for the recently announced PvP draft concept created by Prydwen, Grimro, Antilla, and many others. The team has definitely placed in a lot of efforts, and me being a content creator, I personally really wish that this concept can flourish so that more and more of the Stario community can get involved with this PvP system. That is, I wouldn't say it is a must because of course at the end of the day, this is definitely up to your own free will, but for those players who want to play Stario like a main game, this is definitely something that gives you guys infinite amounts of content when you play against your friends, right? So without further ado, let's get into today's content. Now, before we even begin, I need you guys to first understand exactly how the Prydwen HSR PvP draft works, or rather PhD. You guys definitely need to understand the concept of the rules as well as the bans, picks, point system, because if you guys don't understand this, it can be very challenging and you guys will be in for a very rude world of awakening when you fight against your friends, right? Here are some of the basic guidelines. The challenge is always going to be the same, which is Memory of Chaos 10 with 3 stars. Ensure that you have a PC or any device capable of streaming Honkai Stario at a good quality and frame rate so that your teammate and competitors can validate your run. Failure to produce a suitable stream is an automatic 15 cycle clear for that player, and the match will still proceed as normal and skip that player instead. Next, having enough characters built is going to be a very crucial concept because there are going to be bans, there are going to be picks, and as you guys have known from the previous Timaeus Cup, when players pick a certain unit, then other players cannot pick the same unit. However, for PhD, the rules are slightly different and I'll be going through with you guys exactly how they differ. So to understand exactly how many characters a player should have, this is a general guideline. At least 2 to 3 damage dealers built and geared to be MOC 10 viable. At least 2 to 3 solo sustain units built and geared to survive MOC 10. So some of the notable picks could be Natasha, Lynx, Bailu, Japar, Fusion, Luocha, and March 7th. Lastly, at least 2 to 3 supporting characters built to function with your damage dealers, right? Such as Asta, Yukong, Pella, Wolf, Bronya, and Ting Yun. Personally, I would recommend 10 units just to prevent the chances of you not getting a unit to play due to bans or picks. Right. After all this is settled, find a teammate among your friends and a PhD teammate, preferably with different build units. So this way, you can make use of as many bans and picks as possible in the draft. For example, if your account has Kafka and Blade, then you should try to look for a teammate with Silate and Imbibitor Lunate. So those are kind of the bare minimum in order to participate in PhD and have a good time. If you guys don't have enough units built yet, stick to the story, stick to Simulator Universe, and stick to the content that MiHoYo has provided. This is really the extra dessert on the side if players really just find that there's nothing left to do in Honkai Star Rail, right? For more specific rules, please kindly check out the Prydwen HSR Draft or PhD. Once you guys get in there, there's a whole list of rules which I'm narrating from right now. It will very thoroughly explain to you guys exactly what rules should you guys follow. Now, during the ban and pick phase when I was casting, I just gotta say, because there's a limited timer of 60 seconds per teammate, it might look like 60 seconds is a lot of time, but it's actually really fast because you guys have to think on the spot exactly who you guys want to pick, and if you guys can't think of somebody, then it's gonna run into the countdown. So because of this timer system, the bans and picks are very fast paced. You guys gotta think, you guys gotta communicate with a teammate to know exactly who to ban, who to pick, because communication is gonna be absolutely crucial in ensuring a good ban and pick phase. And I would dare say a ban and pick phase more often than not determines the result, right? It might not be a 100% of the time, like maybe some other players have some very good relics, but ban and picks usually is, I would dare say, more than 50% of the results is determined from here, right? So having a good ban and good pick phase is going to be absolutely crucial for players who want to clinch that victory. So for this specific match, you can see over here, both teams exceeded the point limit of 15, but Clippy exceeded by a lot more, 6 whole points, which ended up their cycle penalty being 6 more additional cycles, whereas Crimjin on the other hand only had 16 out of 15, so the additional cycle is going to be 1 cycle. Now, before the match even begun, Clippy is already at a massive +5 cycle disadvantage. So even if Crimjin clears in 10 cycles and Clippy clears in 5 cycles, there's still going to be a tie. That's why I say the cycle penalty should not be underestimated, and it will be in the player's best interest to avoid this cycle bonus as much as possible, right? And you can see from the team units over here, each Eidolon, each superimposition like Cone, as well as extremely powerful units such as Imbibitor Luna's E2, they all contributed towards Cleepy's very high point system towards the end. I would dare say for this specific match, our main objective is to show players exactly how this cycle penalty works, as well as how players can make use of the point system to their benefit. In the current testing phase where we have done it over the past 2 weeks, most teams shouldn't even be close to hitting 15. Most of the time they should be around the 12 to 14 range. Right? Very little players actually exceeded 15, because for every 1 point, even 0.5 points, it's going to add an additional cycle, because for every 0.5 points, it's going to round up. So the bottom line is, during the ban and pick phase, always look at the high priority units and determine which guys you guys want, right? After determining the high priority units, for example, Ting Yun is extremely high priority, along with Bronya or like Silver Wolf or like Pella. All these units almost have a 100% ban or pick rate so far, because there is such a huge scarcity on our Harmony or Nihility support units. Secondly, after determining your key units and having picked them, you need to try your very best to keep within the point system. Lastly, of course, you need to ensure that you survive. The team that does not survive a specific stage, be it stage 1 or stage 2, is not disqualified per se, but it is an automatic +8 cycle, right? The moment you lose, you +8 cycle, so you pretty much won't win anymore, unless both teams lose half of their match, and then it'll be up to the remaining player and see which cycle is gonna be next, right? So this is a general gist of the whole ban and pick system. Kind of different from the Prydwen system, but this entire thing is already available on prydwen.gg, and you guys can go ahead and test with it yourself. Now, during the actual fight itself between both teams, you can see that first of all, we're going to discuss Team 1, or rather Side 1, right? The first half of Memory of Chaos 10. You guys can see over here, the team with Imbibitor Lune, Bailu, Fire MC, and Sile. Although it looks like it is decked out in 5 stars, everybody is a 5-star, even Fire MC, but Fire MC is of course not really a 5-star. But even with this team, you can see that towards the end, they still cleared in 4 cycles. And then compared to the second team, they actually managed to clear in 3 cycles, despite technically using less 5 stars, right? They instead used Ting Yun and Yukong. So the gist of it, if you guys want to see exactly how the match went, please check out Grimro's original video, because at the end of the day, this content today is just provide my own reflections on how PvP is going to go in the future. For now, I think it's going to be a very strong indication that Harmony supports, or rather supports in general, they are a very big damage amplifier compared to stacking on multiple damage dealers. For example, you want to run so many main DPS such as Sile, Imbibitor Lune. Yeah, everyone can do a lot of damage, but there's not enough skill points to go around, right? You can see from Imbibitor Lune and Sile's team, there are a lot of instances where Sui unfortunately just don't have enough skill points to output the damage that he requires to clear the stage within the required amount of turns, right? Whereas for the other hand, for Crim's team, Yukong and Ting Yun, they are rather skill point neutral, or rather skill point positive. Fushan is also skill point positive, and then Welt is just there to use his skill every single turn on top of all the buffs that are provided to him by Yukong and Ting Yun, which resulted in Crim winning Sui despite having less 5-star units. So one key note to take away from this first half is that 5-star units are definitely not the determinant of whether you can win or lose. And I think this goes back all the way to the basics of team building Honkai Star Rail. If you guys have played the game since day 1, you will understand that usually you wouldn't go and build multiple DPSs on a single team. You will always want to build 1 DPS, 1 sustain, and 2 supports, so that the supports can best amplify the DPS total damage output. Or an alternative is you run a sub DPS instead of 2 supports, but there is still ultimately 1 main DPS and 1 support buffing the entire team, right? So that is really just team building basics, and it really shows in like PvP, the cycle required to clear the stages are drastically different despite having more 5 stars in one team, for example, right? So that's gonna be my summary for the first half of the battle. Now for the first half, you guys can see that Sleepy went ahead with the standard Kafka sample and then the Silver Wolf comp along with Japart. And then the huge Jing fan team actually went for Jingyuan, Blade, Luocha, and Pella. Now this team, I would say between both parties, it's more or less pretty balanced, but of course the favor lies with Sleepy, right? Because in this case, you guys can see the team composition is very similar to what I've mentioned just now. 1 main DPS, that's going to be Kafka, 1 sustain, that's going to be Japart, 1 support, that's going to be Silver Wolf, and then we have a sub DPS / support as well, which is Kafka. And this is going to be a very typical Kafka team that we might face, right? Whereas compared to the huge Jing fan, it does not say that his comp is bad, but it's just less synergistic compared to the Kafka comp, right? Jingyuan and Pella doesn't really have a very good synergy compared to units like Ting Yun, A-Star, Bronya, because Jingyuan really needs some sort of speed buff or action value manipulation so that it can increase his Lightning Lord stacks. Although Pella's AoE defense strat is really good, but it just doesn't really suit well with Jingyuan's entire kit, so that's going to be very unfortunate. On the other hand, Luocha Blade, they both synergize extremely well. In fact, Blade and Pella also synergizes very well because Pella's AoE defense strat allows Blade's multiple AoE attacks to destroy the enemy. Unfortunately, it comes down to just Jingyuan being a little bit out of place in this comp. So for example, if we were to swap Jingyuan to another support such as Bronya or even A-Star to increase Blade speed as well as his attack frequency, then the result might have been very different. But because of this, you can see that both Jingyuan and Blade are kind of clashing with one another, and Pella just doesn't really work that well with Jingyuan, which ultimately contributed to huge Jing fans 1 cycle loss. At the end of the day, they both cleared with the exact same number of cycles, 7 versus 7. But because of the point system, Crimson just absolutely won Clippy because they only have a +1 cycle penalty while Clippy has a +6 cycle penalty. So the bottom line after reviewing both matches, and a word of advice I would give to players that want to play in the PvP, the Honkai style PvP draft format, is watch your cycle penalties, right? The cycle penalties are very important when it comes to do you win or do you lose, because as you can see here, getting the 5 stars really doesn't mean that much because at the end of the day, you're going to be clearing in very similar cycles. What's important is definitely to keep the penalty down, right? Don't hit the penalty, and as much as possible, even try to get those penalty buffs, right? Try to get those draft buffs. For every 3 points below it, you get a -1 cycle. So with that, we've come to the end of my reflection over the first time casting this game. Rest assured, looking forward into the future, I'm definitely going to be casting a lot more games, and frankly speaking, that was my very first game that I have ever casted in any sort of video games, right? So I'll hope to gain more experience and more confidence in my future games as I cast and bring it to you guys. I'm also streaming every single day nowadays, right? I'm also going to be casting on my actual stream on Twitch, and I'm also probably going to play a couple of games myself, right? So do look forward to this because I'm really excited to see how this entire PvP format can flourish going forward into the future, especially for players in Honkai Star Rail that feel that there's just simply not enough content to go around, right? So I highly urge everyone to go ahead and join Prydwen's HSR Draft. It's an amazing community. Everybody put in so much effort to make this work, and the more people that are interested in playing PvP, the bigger this event is going to be. And who knows, maybe MiHoYo might actually give us a lot of benefits, right? So that's going to be a topic for another day. If you guys would like to engage in further discussions, be it PvP or Honkai Star Rail itself, feel free to hop on my Discord, Pokke's Village, where we have a very active community talking about Honkai Star Rail every single day. If you guys want to check out my stream, that's going to be twitch.tv/MrPokke. I'm streaming every day, like I mentioned, and it's going to be PvP content or any other content. Schedule will be updated in my Discord as well. With that, we've come to the end of today's content. I'll see you guys on Friday's live stream, and take care.